Hey guys, Kenny Wisdom here with Serena Radu.
Hey, what's up?
Just gonna do round 6 of the Oregon State Championship. About to start, I think. Yeah, okay, we're starting. So on your left we have Ethan Batson, who is I think you would probably last have seen him on stream last year at the BC regional that he top 8'd. Doesn't really have time to play the game full time per se, so hasn't accomplished a whole lot, but has some trophies, has won some tournaments. And then on the right of your screen we have Joe Sanchez, who's a NorCal player who I imagine is qualified for Worlds, but don't actually know. I know he's qualified before and is generally considered one of the better players in NorCal, along with Kiana Mini and that whole crew. So I know I think he top 8'd Oregon State's last year, actually. He came up, the one that Paul Johnson ended up winning. So only two good players. And as you can see, we have Ethan playing the Manectric Black Hiram deck that Chase Maloney and Trevor Reed played to a top 8 at Washington State's last weekend. And then we have Joe playing what appears to be Seismitoad Dusknoir.
Interesting.
And Joe went first. Go ahead and pass the turn. He does have basically the perfect Seismitoad start with a Seismitoad EX active, the double colorless, the band, and the Verbank in play. No laser on turn 1, but you can't have everything, I suppose. There's an Ultra Ball from Ethan discarding 2 waters. So the way this deck works is Manectric is already a solid attacker, and you can use the Manectric EX, the Mega Manectric attack to put energy from your discard pile onto the Black Hiram. And so you basically just have one efficient attacker and then one attacker that can basically knock out anything. I haven't seen it in action too much, but it's a semi-popular deck. Like I said, Chase Maloney and Trevor Reed both played it to top 8 finishes at Washington State's last year. Now Ethan's sitting at 4-0-1. Reasonable shot of making a top 8. There's the Rough Seas to bounce the Verbank and the Stellar Guidance. Do you have opinions on either of these decks, Serena?
Well, I haven't seen Toad Dusknoir before. That's pretty interesting. Do you know which Dusknoir it is? If it's the one that moves their damage or yours? I assume
it's
the one that moves theirs.
Yeah, that's what I would assume, but like also I don't know if I feel like he might be playing Batson in that situation, like something that can actually accelerate damage more than just move it around.
Right.
But I guess like theoretically it could be the one that moves your own damage because you want your Seismitoads to live forever, and maybe you can like play max potion tricks and such. Yeah. I guess we'll see.
I don't know. Well, as for Ethan's deck, I haven't played it myself. I've played against it. I know sometimes the draw can be a little bit awkward. But I think if you get set up and you get a good start, it's a really solid deck. You basically one-shot everything.
Yeah, that seems about right. I mean, if you can get the like Mega Manectric turn 2 with a Spirit Link and just start placing energies onto the Black Hiram EX. Which is something I remember people talked about it when the Mega Manectric first came out. Like we experimented with it a little bit. I heard other rumblings online, but I don't think anyone really played it back then. I think it's only been recently. For sure. And so there's a Keldeo and then a Versus Seeker for the N.
I think the Rough Seas really helped that deck out, and it was having that stadium to bounce other stadiums, and also healing damage just makes Manectric, which was kind of a fragile Pokemon, it just makes it a lot tougher.
Yeah, definitely. And there's the laser flip tails from Joe after Ethan just attached and dealt 20 to the Duskull and 20 to the active Seismitoad EX. And there's an Ultra Ball. Okay, so Joe Sanchez is sitting at 209 points before this event. So he's going to need a little bit of a ways to go, but not much. I mean, a top 4 here. Where's that? No, top 2 here would get it for him, 100.
Top 2 is 90, so he would be 1 point off.
1 point short. So I need to do some work, but I'm sure he has a regionals coming up as well as nationals. Maybe even 2 regionals. He's in California. Utah's not an unreasonable drive.
For sure. Interesting. So he plays a Darkrai in his deck. I guess for the Keldeo. This is something I've never seen before.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it is.
And he's reading.
Ethan's
good idea.
Go ahead and read the
Dusknoir.
Sorry.
Yeah, you know, I was playing against Manectric Bats at Missouri States, and they were playing Rough Seas, and it's so hard. It helps out your Toad. I was playing Toad Bats. It helps out your Toad, but it helps them out so much more.
Oh yeah, I bet the card just seems insane. And so there's the Quaking Punch with the Laser Verbank in play.
Ethan doesn't really have a lot going on his board. He missed the Spirit Link.
Yeah, he can't play Spirit Links anymore, so it's just going to be...
It's going to be a little awkward to get that Mega Manectric set up.
And he can't even... He just played one of those bench, so he can't even evolve it this turn and just let the other one get knocked out.
He could... If he had the Rough Seas to bump the Verbank, I think manually evolving wouldn't be a bad idea. He would be at 50 damage on him, and he would have 210 total health, you know, so...
Right.
It would be fine.
I mean, he'll still technically live through a Mega Evolution, right? Because he's at 80, he'll go to 110, 160, and then 190 going back into Ethan's turn.
Yeah.
So he would still be able to get an attack off of next turn if that's what he wants to do.
Right.
It wouldn't be the best use of Manectric, or Mega Manectric rather, but
yeah.
It is
I'll see
something.
now he could, if it's on the bench and he's got his... Well, I guess he probably doesn't have it either.
Passes the turn, and he has no way to retreat that Keldeo besides manually attaching, as far as I know, because he won't be able to play any items, obviously.
Right. Looks like the Sinister Hand one that moves around your opponent's damage, which is really good right now.
It's going to be huge versus the Jirachi on Ethan's bench.
Oh, yeah.
And we just see a laser into a Quaking Punch. Ethan going to go ahead and take a look at Joe's discard pile.
It's actually...
Go on.
Oh, it's pretty good. Whenever I play Toad, it is a little frustrating that if you have the Verbank out and you laser and you Quaking Punch, they come back into your turn with 110, and if you Quaking Punch again, it's 190, and it does feel sort of like wasted damage, you know? So I think it's interesting that he's like taking advantage of that.
And there's an N for both players, retaining to 6. So yeah, I mean, the Keldeo will have 110. The Manectric will have Aegis of 190. So he could rearrange it to not get anything on the board and still leave damage.
Right.
He could also...
I definitely would have rearranged it and maybe put not a lot of it, but some of it on the Jirachi. If he gets a Rough Seas, he could heal.
Right.
You know, so...
Good thinking. He could also just try and trap that Keldeo there.
Yeah.
The Keldeo has 2 retreats, so Ethan, I assume, doesn't play DCE. I don't actually know.
I don't think so, right?
So like he'll need at least 2 attachments, so or something like a switch, but he can't play that through Quaking Punch. So I assume that he can just kind of lock it there for at least 2 turns, and then even if Ethan dedicates energy to it, just knock it out by moving damage around.
For sure.
And there's an electric on the Manectric. And Keldeo goes up to 60. So what did you play for this event?
Landorus with Crobat. Yeah.
I think it didn't work out too well for you.
It didn't. My last game was against Eric Wallig, and it was a mirror match, and there was a couple of misplays that I made that I think had I not made, I would have maybe still been in the tournament, or I would have been happier with my performance at the very least. Hawlucha is resistant to fighting because it's flying type. Just in case you didn't know that, now you know. There's a lot of little things like that that I miss, probably from lack of testing.
That's fair.
But I think the deck is really strong. I think it was a strong play for today. I've heard there's a lot of Manectric, seen a lot of VG.
There's a lot of Landorus bats at the top tables and
yeah, for
around
sure.
there as well.
And that's a very awkward mirror match. If you don't tech for it, it's basically if you go first and you get your Zubats out first, I think you win usually.
There's a trump card. Yeah, really awkward spot for Ethan. It just seems like no matter what he does, that Sinister Hand is going to be able to just manipulate the damage. Like you said, he does have the Rough Seas, so that can deal with it a little bit. But I mean, if I'm Joe and I don't have a Verbank, or I don't think I'm going to draw into another one anytime soon, like maybe I only play one or two, like I would just take the prize in that Jirachi, and that's not the worst thing that's ever happened. Like you are resetting because you have to leave the other damage somewhere, so you are resetting so that Ethan can just use Rough Seas again, but it's a free 2 prizes. Right,
for sure. So it looks like he'll put 80 on there, which is good. The only thing I'd be worried about is an AZ or something like that. But even at this point, I'm sure Ethan would rather AZ the Keldeo or something like that. So it's pretty strong.
And that might have been Ethan's big mistake here. Sending up that Keldeo and just leaving it there with 2 retreat.
For sure.
I don't know. I can imagine, like he's not even attaching to it, so he's just kind of giving Joe these free turns, just building more and more damage.
The idea, though, I mean, on Joe's side, is seeing all that, I wouldn't knock out that Keldeo.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So I don't know. That just put Ethan in a really awkward spot, like you said.
And then as long as Joe keeps the damage around the right places, I suppose it is hard when you can heal it off with the Rough Seas, but as long as he keeps it around, he can just knock out the Keldeo if Ethan ever commits 1 energy to it or something, as if he's going to retreat it. And see, not too much that's relevant in Ethan's hand, and he just passes the turn back.
Seems like he's not drawing into his Mega Manectrics.
Yeah, I just, like you said, I think there's just kind of these awkward draws with this deck where, like, Manectric is fine but needs its own support, and then Black Kyurem definitely needs the Manectric support. So it's just like, you can have draws like this where you're just not doing a whole lot. And even if Ethan hadn't set up the Keldeo, like if that Keldeo just wasn't in play, I think he would still be in a pretty awkward position. Like, he has just not drawn anything. And obviously some of that's due to not being able to play Ultra Balls and such, but he would, like, the Manectric would just be knocked out by now, or at least being manipulated like the Keldeo is. Although I guess that's difficult with the retreat cost on Manectric. But
I mean, Joe hasn't played a DCE down or anything, so I feel like had Ethan been attacking the past couple turns, because Manectric's second attack does 120 since Toad has like that muscle band on it, so he would be doing some decent damage. But
yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
He would be pressuring him, and there's the Rough Seas again. And I think Joe played the Verbank turn 1, so I think as long as they're both, I imagine that Ethan plays 3 Rough Seas, that he will win that war, which is nice for him. It
does seem that Joe was able to shuffle all of his back in, though. I mean, Ethan as well, but they're just going to cycle forever,
I
guess.
Think about the trump card. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, Joe is kind of lacking. He has the Toad up, but besides that, he hasn't really got much going on. No extra energy. There's a computer search that can get him a DCE if that's what he's looking for, or muscle band, or whatever part of that he's missing. But just gets a Colress.
All right.
I guess drawing 8 cards is pretty good. I guess like The thing is I guess he's just not afraid of anything because, like we said,
Right, for sure.
this turn he can knock out the Keldeo if he wants.
Yeah.
And
I'd definitely do that. He's at 100, so he can move. If he gets the Verbank, he can move 10 from Keldeo to Jirachi, knock it out, and then do 80 to the Keldeo, which would KO it between turns if he has the Verbank. If he doesn't, then
that would be
just kind of stuck up there.
You see Joe looks like he was going to attach a muscle band to the Darkrai, so it seems like he's on that plan as an attacker as well, just spreading around the damage. Kind of like the old Darkrai Dusknoir decks, just spreading around the damage and then making your Night Spears perfect. So there's 180 damage in play. So if he
what is he?
So the Keldeo was at 100.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. So if he moves, like you were saying, if he moves 1 to the Jirachi, he can knock it out. But So I'm not actually sure what the right play is here. Now the Keldeo gets to retreat, but the Keldeo retreating is basically the same as knocking out the Keldeo.
Yeah.
Like you still have that damage, assuming that Ethan can't AZ or some trick like that. You still have that damage around forever. It's also possible that he's just trying to get a Mega Manectric knockout. Just like build up the damage. He already has 210.
It would be scary for Joe if Ethan got out a Mega Manectric, because at that point he doesn't really need his items anymore as much. He can just power up anything and sort of cycle through that.
And it might just be more efficient for Joe to manipulate the damage in other ways and take more prizes. Like for the cost of a Mega Manectric, you can almost knock out a Keldeo and a Jirachi. But he's going to go ahead and move 120 to that Manectric. And then he can... Yeah, so he just moves the damage and then Quaking Punches for the knockout.
That seems like the best play for sure. Is it still his turn? Oh, he just knocked it out.
Yeah, sorry.
I see.
Dusknoired.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Trap the Keldeo again.
Yeah.
Move the damage onto that Jirachi, so it can't be healed off. So it can't be healed off with Rough Seas, and 50 on the Keldeo. And there's the heal going down to 20 on the Keldeo. But I gotta believe this is Joe's game to lose. I mean, again, as Serena said, he hasn't been really proactive. He does have the Darkrai with 1 energy and the band on it, which is nice. Could kind of be his finisher of choice, but his board tit is so much better than Ethan's despite that. Looks like he's going to fire off a Getsus here into Ethan's, what I think is a 5-card hand. I'm going to go ahead and take 3, leave Ethan with Manectric, Lightning Energy. Joe draws 3. There's a second Dark for the Darkrai. Now Joe can Night Spear with any type of energy. And there's the second Dusknoir for Joe. May just be thinning his deck. I don't know if he plays Rare Candy. No, looks like he does. Yeah, Rare Candy into the Dusknoir. Now he's got 2 Sinister Hands up. It was a Laser Heads, which is gonna be pretty big actually. He does have the 1 energy on, so if Ethan doesn't wake up here, it'll be tough. He's gonna go up to 60 flip. That's a tails. Ethan draws his hand is Manectric, Lightning, and one unknown card. And I'm going to go ahead and activate Rough Seas there, and I think, I don't know what else you can do. I mean, I guess you can attach to the Keldeo just to be prepared for the turn that you do wake up, and hopefully you don't get knocked out before then, although I don't know. He goes to 40 and then 90, 100. So, yeah, so he has a while before he'd get knocked out, even with Sinister Hand tricks. And he has woken up this turn. And there's the Serena's commentating.
Yeah.
She'll be right back. And there's 7 new cards, or 8 new cards, rather. Not 7 new cards, 7 new cards for Joe. And there's a Verbank. Well, that's going to be pretty big, and a speed with damage acceleration. To 120, so there'll be a total of 180 on board after this turn. And there's the third Dark on Darkrai. There's the Russian Retreat. Wow, that's good. That's huge. So he's going to go ahead and, yeah, Ethan just scoops it up. Ethan scoops it up after getting his Jirachi knocked out and the Keldeo. So you missed some action. You missed.
Did he play a scramble switch?
No. He
just loaded up the Darkrai?
Manually attached to the Darkrai and then got 4 prizes. I mean, Darkrai is super good. Like the card was the best attacker in the format for a long time. It just the format now I feel like is more about tricky things you can do, such as Quaking Punch and Blockade and things like that, rather than pure damage. But our good friend Lane Tower is famous for saying that Night Spear is the perfect attack. If it just did 120 to the active, it would be so much worse.
Oh, for sure. Interesting. I think if if I'm Ethan now, my strategy is don't bench anything that I can't rough seas, and hope.
I mean,
I draw into the megas. Did he ever draw into a mega?
No, I think the matchup is fine though if Ethan can land Float Stones and Spirit Links before the Toad kicks in. I also don't know the extent of Joe's deck. Like, it's possible that he's just playing 2 Seismitoad and like 3 Darkrai or something, because he has to fit the Dusknoir and Rare Candy, because he had Rare Candy somehow. Yeah. So like he could have like lower lines of those. So like it's possible that the Seismitoad isn't really his main attacker, it's just what happened to be that game.
That's right.
So he could miss. And the longer he misses a Quaking Punch, I think the better it is for Ethan.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely hope.
It looks like a Morg. No. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've never watched the Manectric Black Kyurem versus Dusknoir Seismitoad match, but I imagine the matchup's fine, maybe favorable to the Seismitoad deck.
Right. See, I said I've never seen this before, but I have seen Yveltal Dusknoir. I was thinking about playing it a couple weeks ago. It looks like he has the Spirit Link on there, which is great. But I don't know if Joe plays Yveltal.
I haven't seen one. I've only seen the various Dusknoirs and the Darkrai.
And that's really interesting. I think that makes that deck a little bit more consistent.
Not playing the Yveltal?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it seems like with the Dusknoir, you just want to, like, the manipulating the bench damage from Night Spear is so important.
Right.
That, like, if you want a big attacker, like, you have Yveltal, but you're probably not, like, Joe took all game to load that Darkrai up with 3 energy.
Right, yeah.
Loading an Yveltal with 4 or 5, it just seems unrealistic.
Right,
at least from the impression we had gotten that game. When the deck that you were thinking about playing with the Yveltal, was there Seismitoad as well?
I believe so. If there wasn't, I would definitely include it.
Yeah. And so Ethan is kind of getting where we wanted him to be. He has the Spirit Link on. He has an energy. He has the Keldeo, which like I don't really like.
But if he gets a Floatstone on it.
Yeah, if he gets a Floatstone on it, it's fine. And obviously, it's not like playing the Keldeo is going to lose him the game, but it's just that the Manectric has free retreat, and so if that's what he's concerned about. It's not a huge deal, but obviously, I think he will not make the same mistake he made last game, and if what happened last game is a lot better for Ethan if Joe has to waste use a Lysander on the Keldeo.
Right, for sure.
I also find it really interesting the number of non-draw supporters that people are playing nowadays between Lysanders and trump cards, and even some decks are playing Flare Grunts. Oh, yeah, that's what gets us. He got him.
Interesting.
Oh, just one. He got him for 3 earlier.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's the downside of Getsus is sometimes you just brick or get to draw 1 card. I mean, it also has the ability of just making Ethan's draws more dead after Joe gets the Quaking Punch off here. So it's not just about your own card advantage.
That's interesting. I wonder if he plays Jirachi. If so, I would maybe consider having Jirachi that turn instead. I mean, Ethan's playing against a Toad deck. Why wouldn't he play all of his items? I mean, I would have even played that Battle Compressor.
Right, yeah. That's actually surprising Ethan didn't play the Battle Compressor. Yeah, interesting.
So why did Joe
just fire it off in the blind?
That's a little... I mean, maybe he doesn't play Jirachi. That's definitely the possibility there.
Yeah, it's possible that was his only option. And in a deck like this, I would maybe... I could understand why you wouldn't play Jirachi because your bench is already taxed.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's a possibility.
He does get the Quaking Punch off, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, luckily Ethan got the Spirit Link under the Quaking Punch. It looks like he's considering Mega Evolving.
If he Mega Evolves here, it would be great. And attaches the Lightning and is able to...
Yeah, I mean, Lightning, Mega Evolve, and even attach Water to the Keldeo, I think it's fine. Like, Keldeo's a good attacker if it has a bunch of Water energy on it. And there's a Lightning.
Looks like he doesn't have the Mega Evolution.
I'm just going to go ahead and deal 60. Which is pretty unfortunate. I think Ethan... obviously, the play we described can happen anytime, but and there's the Lysander on the Keldeo. Yep, there's the Quaking Punch. And now Joe has a substantially worse draw this time. No supporter that turn, so I definitely could see Ethan crawling back into this a little bit easier than he did last time.
Oh, for sure.
But if Joe can, draw a supporter, get the Dusknoir up, Ethan's basically in the same place he was last game.
Right.
And both of these players sitting at 4-0 and 1 will likely have to win out to make top 8. I don't think Ethan has an invite in mind, so I think he's just kind of playing for fun and to get the experience prizes. But Joe definitely is, and going in a 4-1-1, driving up from NorCal, going in a 4-1-1, knowing that you need to get 2 straight to maybe not even top 8 will not be a good place to be. I'm going to go ahead and heal with the Rough Seas.
Tails?
Yeah, Tails on the laser.
And he gets an N.
It's really interesting.
Coming back in the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting to me the number of seemingly low impact cards that are getting played now.
Right.
Like Lysander's trump card doesn't actually do anything. Like within the context of the format, it does a lot and it makes a lot of decks powerful, but it's just a strange card. And even Rough Seas is something that I think a year ago people wouldn't have considered playing.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Executor is a big deck now. Flareon. I guess Flareon's been around for a while, but it's just really interesting the things that I think Battle Compressor, Lysander's trump card, and a few other cards have really made a whole bunch of decks interesting. And
yeah, for sure. It's a lot of cards where you read them and you're like, that's kind of stupid, and then you read other cards and you pair them with what have you, and it gets a lot better. Yeah,
it's like these weird cards that aren't inherently powerful but are synergistic, which I feel like there were times within the past few years, most of the time, where the decks were just mainly about raw power.
Oh, for sure.
I remember back in the last format that the last year that I played competitively, was the year that the big basics decks were everywhere, and it was just like Landorus, Buffalon, just some just big things that did a lot of damage, and now Seismitoad, which is basically the polar opposite of that.
Right.
Do you think Seismitoad's too good or bad for the game? Or?
I don't think so. I think the combination with Verbank and Laser makes it is what makes it really intense. I think after the rotation, if they rotate Verbank Laser out, which they probably will, I mean, it'll do 30, maybe 60, 50 with the muscle band, and you can retreat, or you don't get the extra poison damage. You don't have to stay asleep. All of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think so. I think there's a couple of drawbacks to Seismitoad. The 3 retreat cost. It's an EX. There's a lot of stuff that has EX hate. So.
And there's an AZ.
Interesting. That's hard for Ethan, but I honestly don't think that did anything.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I said that was interesting that he chose to save that Toad, but doesn't really do anything other than item lock Ethan for another turn because he just heals off all the damage. So yeah, I don't know that he really needed to worry about that Toad.
Yeah, I might have liked to have seen that AZ be saved for a more crucial time.
Right.
Maybe if he gets a Darkrai set up, or if Ethan traps a Keldeo, or some sort of.
If he had that supporter in his hand, that Colress, I definitely would have played that and hoped to draw, a Verbank and a Laser or something like that. And a Dark from my Keldeo, just get my board more set up.
But I have to say, I agree with you, Seismitoad. I don't think it's too powerful. I think that it's a frustrating card.
Sure.
And I think that when combined with things like Super Scoop Up, Crushing Hammer, Laser, Verbank, it leads to a lot of bad feelings, which you can argue are bad for the game. But I wouldn't say that it's actually too powerful. Like, a few weeks ago.
If it was, wouldn't everything just be Toad? But it's
not. A few weeks ago, TJ just decided to play Kyogre and destroyed Toad.
Right,
Chase Maloney, who I consider top 5 players in the world, just stomped him with. If you want to beat Toad, you can.
And not only did he beat Toad, he beat a whole bunch of other decks in one state.
And obviously, what makes a deck overpowered is not necessarily just that it wins every match, because no deck will, but. I agree that I think Toad is just more frustrating and demoralizing to play against than anything. It's similar to N. People, before we had a lot of better draw supporters, people used to complain that N was overpowered and so bad. But I don't actually think it is. I just think it's frustrating when you are one turn away from winning and you get N to 1. But that doesn't make it bad for the game.
For sure. I actually think hand disruption is a great thing.
Me too.
I think N is balanced because you have to disrupt your own hand as well. So if you have, your 10-card hand and you want to end your opponent down and you are down on prizes, or you have only a couple prizes left, that's a drawback on it, So I think that's a pretty balanced card.
Not to mention, I think, if we saw the decks like Toad without N, just holding 3 Crushing Hammers in their hand every turn, and just having infinite resources more than they already do, I think it would be a much worse format.
For sure.
There's a Colress.
And he hasn't been able to get out that Dusknoir or the Dusclops.
Yeah, I'm really interested in what his lines are, because it seems like every game or both games we watch, he's just struggling to actually set up a board.
Right.
I guess he got the one Dusknoir pretty early, but after he got that, he didn't hit any energies forever, and eventually he got to the point where he could just win the game with Darkrai. But I'd be interested to see if his counts are just inconsistent because you have to play so much stuff, not necessarily because the deck's misbuilt or anything like that.
It's interesting that he chooses to attach to Keldeo. I'm not sure I would. If you attach to Darkrai, then the next turn you have the option of attacking with Darkrai or attaching to Keldeo if that's necessary. Whereas with this turn, why does he necessarily want to retreat out of Toad next turn? You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's any real way that Ethan can punish him for just attaching to the Darkrai and just trying to build that up sooner. it's also, with decks like this that are kind of unconventional, it's also potential that we just don't see the correct lines. Like with that Jirachi play, or with that Gets play, it's possible he doesn't play Jirachi.
Yeah.
With there's certainly could be reasons why he's doing the things that he's doing, but we have seen some unconventional plays from Joe over these 2 games.
And it seems like Ethan isn't drawing into his megas, because that would be great, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we can see the plays from where we are, and Ethan looks pretty upset, like his body language, which is again is just a kind of a side effect of playing against Seismitoad.
Oh yeah, I feel that. I don't usually get as upset. You know, I know this card is in format. I chose to play in this format, so I'm not really gonna blame my opponent for choosing to play a card that's legal. That's never made sense to me. But I definitely understand that it can be frustrating when your opponent rolls heads on 3 roller skates in a row or whatever.
Right, and I just think like the thing is that one of the things that Seismitoad does is prevent you from playing the game. So you know your deck is 20, 15 item cards, and then if he plays Crushing Hammer, like if it's the one that like Trevor Reed's playing, like that's another like 7 cards at half the time you can't play. It just becomes like a very frustrating experience.
For sure.
Seismitoad's also one of the only item lock. For one, it's the easiest item lock to get off, at least in recent memory. It's also the only one that's an actual win condition, because before, like with Vileplume Undaunted, for instance, you didn't attack with it. You needed other things to support it. Also, Vileplume turned your trainers off, items off too. And even with Gothitelle, like people did attack with Gothitelle, but it wasn't a main strategy. You know, it was very slow and plotting. And this Seismitoad is just a fine attack that's finally costed and insanely powerful. Low damage output is the downside of Seismitoad for sure.
Yeah.
But that's mitigated by things like laser.
And Crobat as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make that deck just have a bunch of damage output if you like. So
with both players at 6 prizes, like there's an actual potential that they just go to time here.
Yeah.
I mean, at least over, even if Ethan can win this game and then they go to game 3. Like it's been quite a while for being at 6 prizes on.
Joe is he's doing 60 damage. No, he's doing basically 10 damage a turn, net 10 damage a turn because of poison, because he doesn't have a muscle band. But he's also able to heal off half of the damage that Ethan does. It's always tricky to decide whether or not what you do in this situation. Do you attach the muscle band or do you not? Honestly, I think that's like a legitimate decision that you have to make. And
I mean, I think
if he's not attaching the muscle band, he does 10 damage a turn.
Right, yeah, just because the poison is what gets left basically after the ref seal is off. And I think the one thing that Joe does have going for him in that kind of stalemate position is Darkrai. Like, he can just kind of sit back and manipulate damage, and then, as we saw last game, just let Darkrai come through, and there's not really a whole lot Ethan can do about it. Obviously, everything on Ethan's board wisely can be healed with ref seas.
Right.
We see a Russian.
That's pretty good.
And a Secret Sword for 90?
Yeah.
So this will put... So it will be a knockout next turn if he can't retreat, because he's at 120. So we'll go down to 90. And then Ethan will be able to Secret Sword again. Well, not really losing much, I guess. He has another Keldeo for Russian stuff, and Keldeo's not one of his main attackers anyways.
It seems like in this matchup it's smart for him to attack with Keldeo, because once Joe gets Dusknoir up, if he's able to stack all that damage on Black Kyurem, then Ethan won't be able to rough seize it off. So in utilizing only Keldeo Manectric, he's able to sort of stop him from doing any shenanigans like that.
Absolutely.
Where he just builds up damage on the board. So, smart playing.
Yeah, definitely. Like for instance, I mean, Joe can Quaking Punch for 30, and then Ethan can heal that off, or more realistically, just heal the 30 off of the Manectric. And obviously, Joe can manipulate that with the Sinister Hand, but there's kind of this trade-off. There's a computer search. And Joe getting a laser, it looked like. And there's a hypnotoxic laser and tails. So Verbank getting rid of the rough seas is important.
He rushes in with Keldeo.
Retreat to the other one, yeah.
Sure.
Just save himself from getting knocked out at least.
Is he knocking out the Keldeo?
No, he'll go to 150. Right? Because he has 90 on him.
he would go to 150. Yeah. Well, it's fine. He can heal. Yeah. It looks like he's just debating where to place that damage.
Yeah, I mean, if he can put it all on the Keldeo. I mean, it doesn't really matter as long as he's not getting a knockout because Rough Seas, if Ethan drops, it can heal anything.
Right.
But I think you want to put... I guess you'd want to put more pressure on the Keldeo because it's active and like it's going to be attacking. Again, you can just move it wherever you want later.
Right.
It might have been smart of Joe to put enough so that if Ethan passes with Keldeo active, it dies going into Joe's
that's
turn.
what I was thinking as well. Because now, well, if Ethan plays Rough Seas, I think it's irrelevant anyway. But no,
yeah, but
I
it's
agree with you.
now anyway too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it doesn't
really
way.
make sense.
And this way at least makes Ethan have to react by either letting his Keldeo get knocked out, which if Joe did do that, it might just be the correct play. Like get all that damage off the board. Like Joe takes 2 prizes.
Right.
But
he's finally able to get out his Mega, which is cool.
Yeah, unfortunately he's not. I mean, he doesn't have the Black Kyurem. I think mostly because he's afraid of playing things he can't heal with Rough Seas, as you said.
Yeah.
But he has other Keldeo. He has...
Yeah, if he can build up that other Keldeo and it can start hitting for 110, that's pretty strong. That's interesting. I guess it doesn't really matter because
he can't. He's
Joe
not poisoned. There's no more damage coming, right?
Right, but Joe can move the damage. I guess he can't move it to knock out that Keldeo, but I guess he could Darkrai.
Oh wow! Yeah, that's.
Yeah. See, and if Ethan had attached to the other Keldeo, at least one Keldeo would have still had energy on it.
Yeah. Well, Ethan's actually getting majorly punished here.
Oh, for sure.
Although I don't know
130.
That Joe wants to open up the Darkrai to a response hit by the Manectric / give Ethan a turn off from Quaking Punch.
I think it would make sense. It knocks out all free energy from his benched Keldeo if he moves the Mega Manectric damage. And if he has a Muscle Band, he could set up the Manectric for a 2-shot. But I don't know. The Darkrai will live through any Mega Manectric attack, of course. And I don't know. He could AZ that Toad up. Yeah, do it.
What he's gonna do.
That's really strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And he did have to discard the DCE on the Toad, so he won't, unless he wants to open up his Toad to a knockout, he won't be, or he has another DC in hand, he won't be Quaking Punching this turn, but you're right, he might just be on the Night Spear plan. I just don't know if that, I don't know if he can get punished for that.
I don't think so. He needs to move 1 damage counter off of the Mega Manectric in order to knock out that benched Keldeo. Interesting. I guess he's choosing to knock out the Mega Manectric instead.
Yeah,
he could do that.
He'll leave 2 damage, I think, on the Keldeo if he does that, because he's doing 90.
That's interesting. I guess that makes more sense in the long run. because then he won't be able to power up any of his other Pokemon, and Keldeo is really only going to two-shot him from this point on.
Definitely.
And then he had 150 on board, right?
He would have had...
Yeah. No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I said...
Because the Keldeo had 130 on it, and then the Mega Manectric had 20 on it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and we were talking about how he would leave...
He would have to leave 10 on the Mega Manectric, and then it would be at...
Yeah.
What is...
that doesn't act...
Right, okay.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So I think this play makes sense in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I guess you're only giving Ethan theoretically one turn of items, or you can just say, like, I don't care. I'm so far ahead. I'm just gonna... He's gonna get the Mega Magic, though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
now with the items.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So he can do 110. And...
Maybe the play on the Keldeo would have been better. Maybe not.
I'm not sure, because it's always so annoying to tell with Dusknoir math. Like the fact that you could just move anything anywhere. So 110 on the Darkrai EX. Second Darkrai on the bench.
This would be a good deck to play Scramble Switch in.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I do wonder if the damage is ever relevant enough that you wouldn't rather just play Rainbows, so you could theoretically Grenade Hammer. Though I guess they're also... I mean, you open yourself up to Enhanced Hammer that way, but you won't have Toads. I mean, that doesn't matter.
Right. I think the only actual worry is the damage that you end up stacking with the Rainbow. Even that 10 damage can really make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. It's also important to note that just because it is so late into the round now, Joe really has no interest in finishing the match. Like he's gonna take his time. He's going to consider his options, and like he always has the ability, if he falls behind, to just send up Toad. Oh, retreat my Toad, send up Darkrai. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Ethan needs to win. Like Ethan needs to at least win this game. If he wins this game, it probably ends in a tie. And Ethan needs to be playing very fast. Needs to be playing in a way that allows him to maximize the chances of winning before time runs out.
For sure. I think this is pretty strong here. He knocks off all the energy off the Darkrai.
Yeah, he takes 2 prizes, ties it up that way, and now Joe is just back to Quaking Punching, which is super powerful, but not the highest damage output like he was doing with the Darkrai. And both of those Keldeos are protected from any Lysander tricks.
Right.
As well. And there's an Ultra Ball for Joe. He does discard an Eviltal, so he does play it.
I think he has the trump card in his hand. Right.
Yeah, there's the trump card. Shouldn't have done it that way.
What's that?
Joe picked up his deck and put it into his discard pile, so he saw the contents.
Right.
Theoretically, he's
not allowed to do that.
Okay, 1 second.
Right. Children. Apologies for that brief interlude.
I'll fix that camera angle during the next round. People just have no regard for the belongings of others.
So it looks like Joe was able to knock out Ethan's Keldeo by moving the damage from the Mega Manectric onto it and then using Quaking Punch.
That's not a good sign for...
Do you know how much damage this Toad has on it?
60, I think. They're using a clear dice. It's kind of hard to tell, but... it's hard to tell with the Rough Seas healing, too.
And Ethan's pretty set up at this point. Unfortunately, he only does 110 to the Toad, so it will live. And then be interesting. That seems like a pretty good play towards the end of the game.
Oh, does Ethan have any electric in the discard pile?
Good question.
Because the problem is that...
Like they trumped.
Yeah. Like, if his only way... Like, oh, I guess if they trumped, he can draw electric, too.
Right,
so that's reasonable.
And Ethan was also able to end Joe to 2, which is, of course, very strong. He's only doing 30 damage per turn, which is getting healed off. So I think Ethan really has this in the bag unless Joe's able to pull out some crazy shenanigans.
Well, yeah, one of the main things is that Ethan, unless Joe lets him take a 2-shot on the Toad, Ethan has to commit to the Black Kyurem at some point.
Right.
Which kind of means that Ethan could... Well, I guess Ethan actually has a Keldeo with 2 energy on it. So he could Black Kyurem, rush in, retreat to the Manectric, and then do it all over again. So that might be fine. And there's the electric that the Black Kyurem needs. And there's 110. AZ would also be a pretty big beating here, I think.
Right.
But it looks... Oh, there's an Ultra Ball.
Maybe
so I guess
he plays Jirachi.
Yeah, I guess we'll see if he has a Jirachi.
I don't know if I would play it down at this point, but maybe so. I mean, I guess...
I feel like if it can keep you in the game, you may as well.
For sure. I guess if he didn't have it, he wouldn't have anything.
Looks like he does have a Jirachi, actually.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's also sort of reasonable, I guess, to just take, like, if he has another Seismitoad or another Darkrai, not an Eviltal because it's weak to Manectric, but just take a big Pokemon and attempt to make Ethan spend another turn. Like, assuming if you think it's late enough in the round where you might each only get 3 or 4 more turns.
Right.
But the Jirachi is definitely...
He should be, he should be taking
9.
9. I think he only took 8.
It's difficult because one of the things now that he's played the Jirachi is that plan I was talking about. Like, let's say Ethan retreats, or let's say Ethan knocks out the Toad this turn. He can knock out the Jirachi with anything with a Lysander.
Right.
Like, even the Keldeo with a single more any colored energy.
Right.
Can knock it out. These have been interesting games.
For sure. And this could be... Well, he has a
Keldeo anyway.
And he retreats into...
You rush in and then retreat to the Darkrai, I guess? Or just the
other Toad. Interesting.
Flipping heads would still be really nice for Ethan here to not have to use the...
the Keldeo.
Although I guess he might just do it anyways to heal the poison.
Yeah.
Because... I guess only has 1 energy on the Darkrai.
Ooh.
Alright, so Ethan's turn...
Hard. 0.
Alright, so Ethan does get 2 more turns, but Ethan has to take prizes this turn and the next. And then the match will end in a draw.
I think he could. If he it looks, I can't tell how much damage is on that toad, but let's say it's less than 70, which I guess it's not. So you can knock it out with the Mega Manectric.
Yeah, he
and
definitely
then
knocked
Black
out the
Ballista,
Mega.
anything.
The only fear, I guess. Actually, I think Ethan just might have it because I don't think there's a way that the Mega Manectric can get knocked out. So he goes up to 2 damage after the poison, and then even if Joe gets a muscle band, he goes up to 7, 8 after the poison, heals off, goes to and then Black Ballista. So the option. Actually.
I mean, Ethan still needs the energy.
Actually, I think the correct play is to just retreat into the Dusknoir.
Right, for sure. So he would also need a Lysander.
Yeah.
Or I guess in this case he's retreating maybe to that baby battle.
Yeah. He plays a lot of stuff in here, really.
But if he has the Versus Seeker and the Lysander and the discard, anything like that. So
I don't know if he does though, given the
the Trump. It's turn 2. Nice.
When there's the Lysander, and the time has been called, it just goes to a draw, right?
Yes. So they were able to finish within 3 turns. Ethan won game 2. It's 1-1 and a draw.
Nice. I mean, 8 rounds. Both players rattle off 2 more. They can make it in.
For sure. 402 is a pretty good record.
It basically leaves no leeway for mistakes, but for someone like Joe, I think, who could reasonably get like top 16, top 8 later on in the season to seal up his invite, it seems fine. But definitely interesting game. Thanks for joining us, Serena.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're going to go ahead and play the LC?
Yeah, it's about that time.
All right, awesome.
All right.
We'll see you guys in a bit.